Shift in the morning is your go-to place for anything and everything automotive news in the moment, currently, topical, whatever, you name it. If it's happening, we're talking about it. And if you're on, you're talking about it with us. So this is a daily morning show that goes live between the hours of 7 to 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. These shows last anywhere from 20 minutes to about an hour, and it's constantly conversational. We're always talking to chat. You guys are a core part of this conversation. I want to hear what you're feeling. I want to hear your opinions. Does this car suck? Is it great? Is it too cheap? Is it too expensive? Would you consider one? Blah, blah. Like, I want to hear all of it because you are also a core part of the dialogue. And if you're watching this after we went live, welcome and enjoy today's news. Hello to everybody joining in on the stream. We're just going to hit the share button as we so often do, and then we're going to get right into it. How was everybody's weekend? Did anybody get into anything interesting? I know myself, and maybe I should probably actually share a picture, but I was able to get the new wheels onto the Civic Coupe that I have. Let me find a picture and I'll throw it up here on you guys. So I have a 1997 Civic Coupe, and that car, when I bought it, it had, wheels that were far too wide with tires that were far too tall. Shout out to Matt with the like and the share. Welcome, my friend. Thanks for stopping by. It had wheels that were way too big, way too tall, way too wide, and because of that, it rubbed off center. Like it was really bad, to say the least. So I swapped those out with some 16-inch by 7 Advan RZ2s, so the car's now red on bronze. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. We'll have like a download on the car and everything like that. But it's getting new suspension, new brakes, ready for track season. Super amped about that. Was really, really pleased with how it turned out. And it's crazy how much of a difference just tires make to a car's overall feel. I drove this car yesterday, not on new suspension, not on new brake, nothing like that. Literally just swapping out the tires, and it felt like a whole new machine. The turn-in was better. The sound was like literally every stat that you could talk about with a vehicle was improved just by changing wheels and tires, which was amazing. Okay, so without further ado, we're gonna get started on today's news. So I know what you guys that tune in every day are saying. You're like, Thanasi, we talked about this. This car right here is the IS 500 Launch Edition. It's a special paint color on the outside with some special stuff on the interior. It's just a way for Lexus to get some extra money out of your wallet when you're considering buying a new car. So this car, old news. If you guys watch this show, you've already seen it. You already know what it is. Matt says, my feed keeps freezing, but you know why I'm here. My man. Welcome. Sorry to hear about your feet. I wonder. Oh, that's why. Matt Comont sending the 500 stars. My man, thank you. I appreciate that. Starting off the stream on a right note. You tend to come in right at the end, but I appreciate you coming in right at the beginning this time. So, again, this car is old product, but what isn't old product is a vehicle that Lexus is launching right now. Shout out to Edward with the like on the channel. Thank you for tuning in. That is this guy. Can you guys read that name? That is Lexus IS Wax. Okay? Wax. And it stands for something that's pretty interesting. Excuse me. It stands for that right there. The IS Wax is for vinyl lovers. Tremendous. Like 100%. Passion fruit. We also stream on Facebook and YouTube as well. So if there's no one on Twitch, there are people on Facebook and on YouTube. So there's a big community in this on Facebook. So what the IS Wax is it is for vinyl lovers entirely. So Lexus claims that when this car goes over bumps, it won't even skip, right? Because that was the first thing that came to my mind. It's like, okay, hold on a minute. You're developing a car that has a vinyl player in the glove box, right? How does it not skip, bump, change on daily driving, right? And Lexus is saying that they leveraged a rotating stepper motor that stabilizes when the car is in motion and a silicone cushion underneath to help it absorb bumps. And what Lexus is trying to do with this car is put the brand in front of people that previously have never heard of this car, or just Lexus in general, right? And the vinyl lovers, the vinyl enthusiasts, which span all ages. Now with Lexus developing a car just for them, right? Maybe it gets their wheels going. Maybe it's like, hey, we should think of like Lexus. We should think about it. Like we should just go drive it, right? And if they get anyone to think that, they win. Because let's be honest, right? There's nothing more to this car than that, right? In the glove box. So for Lexus to just develop a glove box solution that then makes this car appeal to a whole new subset of people is a win. Now I got a level set. This isn't something that is going to make it into production, right? This is a one-off car for Lexus to just be like, hey guys, we care about you. Look how much we care about you. We're keeping you relevant. We're doing this. Here it is, right? Lexus has done this a lot, actually, this year. They've had someone create custom shoes that were inspired by the Lexus IS. They had someone, or they actually had a Twitch channel where they took Twitch's input on a Lexus IS, including things like screens, gaming monitors, nano leafs, all this other stuff. But Lexus is really trying to just get the brand in front of people that aren't 60-plus white males, to put it lightly, right? And I think it's an interesting way to go about it. I'm a marketing professional full time, and for me, it's really hard to do things like this because the ability to understand its impact is very low, right? Oftentimes in marketing, what you're attempting to do is justify your efforts, right? You're trying to say that by creating this one-off machine in this Lexus IS Wax, we were able to generate X amount of sales, X amount of referrals, at Y amount of people we liked. But with stuff like this, where it's not a purchasable option, right? You can't buy the vinyl player in your Lexus IS. It's tougher to sort of understand the impact that something like this has on the brand, but it's something that for notoriety, it's a relatively cost-effective thing that Lexus had to develop, right? Because they claim that it doesn't skip over bumps. And they like showed it. There's a 2-part series in how they developed this car. But past that, they didn't really do much, right? It's not like they're offering this to journalists to test out the feature or putting it into production or something like that, right? This is just a one-off design study. So for them, it's a relatively low-cost thing to generate what they hope is a lot of upside. So I thought it was really, really interesting. As a marketing professional myself, it was something that intrigued me, that the brand assumed that by doing this, they were generating enough buzz in a market that they don't already have an impact in, right? So, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about the Lexus IS Wax? Personally, I think it's interesting, but that's pretty much where I stop. In fact, I'm more interested in the next car that we're talking about, which is the Dossia Spring EV. And that'll tell you something, because this is a Dossia, which is a remarkably cheap machine. So for me to be more excited about an entry-level electric car is telling in terms of my thoughts and appeal and feelings towards the IS Wax, right? So what you guys are looking at right now is the Dossia Spring EV. And the white one is the Comfort model, and this black one is the Comfort Plus model. Okay, and there's some unique differences between the two. John, I show up to good news. Exactly right, my friend. We're talking Dossias. So let me talk about the details about this car and the differences between the version and why I am so obsessed with it, okay? So there's 2 models. Again, the white one, Comfort, the black one, Comfort Plus. The Comfort starts at $24,000. The Comfort Plus starts at $25,931. And after incentives, if you're in Germany, right, the Comfort Plus comes in at $14,542 equivalent, right? These are obviously priced in euros, but we're translating them here for the US audience. But the Comfort after incentives comes in at $12,995. Okay, so you can get an electric vehicle for $12,000 to $14,000 in Europe, and it's this guy. Okay, but what are the details, right? So these cars are both powered by the same engine, which is a 44 horsepower, 92 torque electric motor that is powered by a 27.4 kilowatt hour battery. Shout out to Fabian for liking the stream. Welcome, my friend. Welcome. So very cheap. Very cheap. And I know Fabian's joining. He's from EU, right? So he knows about Dossia and that they're the cost leader in a lot of the segments they operate in. But now we're talking about an electric car that after incentives can be had handily under $20,000. What up, Chris Monty? Welcome to the stream, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. That's cheap. Okay, so even though this car only has 44 horsepower, even though this car only has 92 pound-feet of torque, it still has a decent range. We're talking about 190 miles range in the city, 143 combined on the WLTP cycle, which is the EU, not the EPA. If we were to bring this to EPA, depends on the vehicle, obviously, but the rough difference is 30 to 50 miles less. So we're talking like 140 to 160 on the low end in the city, which is where this car is meant, which is where this car thrives. Shout out to Derek Miles for tuning into the stream. Thank you, my friend. And in a combined sort of environment, you're talking about around 100 miles. Right? This is a car you can get under $15,000 that gets 150 miles of range in the city. And yes, the Comfort, which is the white one, again, has manual AC, Bluetooth, and a regular charge cable, and that's pretty much it. Right? The Comfort Plus, if you got the money, the extra $2,000 to spend, now you're talking about a 7-inch touchscreen with Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, rear sensors, and a camera, and it has fast charging. Whoa value. Shout out to Chris Monty with the 310 stars. My man. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. So you're talking about a car that has all you want, right? Bluetooth, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Shout out to Alston with the like of the stream. Thank you for tuning in. Right, like, that's all you need. And John puts it best, right? He says 10 out of 10 would buy to cruise locally, would pay for itself so quick. You're talking about a car that you can charge at home, that you can make runs to the city and back, and charge again at home. And that's it. This is not your road trip machine. Not at all. And if the Chevy Volt, I bring the Chevy Volt up all the time. And it's because when GM first developed the Chevrolet Volt, the reason why they landed on 33 miles of range was because the majority of people in the United States commute under 30 miles a day. Right? So a car like this that gets over 100 is good enough for the majority of people in the United States. Right. Derek says 2,000 extra gets you some great value. Meanwhile, in some other cars, that just gets you different seats. Totally. Very true. Right. Or in some Porsches, it gets you leather covered vents. You know what I mean? So I'm actually really, really excited for this thing. There's no chance it comes to the U.S. because Dossia is not a brand in the U.S. But what it does show is that EVs are getting cheaper by the second. And cheap doesn't mean useless, right? It has around 100 miles of range, which is a good amount, right, on the EPA cycle. And it gets more than that in the city because that's where electric cars thrive, because they can regenerate, right? John says different seats, 2,000 might get you a trunk organizer. Yeah, right, and like something like an Alpina X7 or B7, whatever they call it. But yeah, I'm really, really excited about this car. It shows that cheap EVs can exist and they can provide enough value to create, a sense of worth there. And there's no better brand to do it than Dossia, right? Those in the EU know, those that watch Top Gear know that Dossia has been producing cars that are what everyone really needs for a long time. And this is no different. This Spring EV is more than enough car for someone that wants the A to B. More than enough. Maybe it's not for Derek. Maybe it's not for John. Maybe it's not for Matt, Chris, whatever. But it likely works for your parents. It likely works for your siblings. It likely works for your boss who's just in the city, right? And that's the key with electric cars. It's showing that you can have them in that sub $20,000 price bracket after incentives, or even low, even without the incentives, right? We're talking about something that's $24,000 without incentives, which is, $5,000 to $6,000 cheaper than the nearest option. I think it's actually $8,000 cheaper than a Chevrolet Bolt. So not too shabby on the hands of Dossia for sure, and really proud of them for pulling this off. Yes, Derek, great call out. Derek asks, does Dossia fall into the Renault Nissan family? The front end looks Nissan-ish design, and yes, Dossia's owner is the Renault Group, which now by proxy is Stellantis. So yes, Dossia falls under the Renault Group, but then thanks to the Stellantis ownership, now it's under that sort of like brand moniker, right? Okay, moving on to a YouTube channel called The Fast Lane Truck. If you guys want any and every information on pickup trucks, go to YouTube and check them out. The Fastlane Truck does some pretty remarkable reviews, from things like space to things like efficiency to tow tests, etc. It's more what I would call like a realistic review instead for a pickup truck or an SUV, instead of just like a look at the Apple CarPlay and how it works. Like they actually use them with the new Power Boost feature in the F-150, which is the F-150's hybrid. They tried the generator out to see what it could charge. I think they charged like a Tesla. They powered two like all this other stuff, just to show you how it could work and what it could work on, instead of just being like, hey guys, here's the generator and this is what it can do. They actually show you. So really cool. But with that comes an extensive community of people that sends them information on any of the latest and greatest truck news. Now, we've talked about this truck in the past, but this is what is being called the Ford Maverick. Okay, and this is going to open up a new genre, or reintroduce rather, a new genre of pickup truck that we have not seen for quite some time. This is a compact pickup truck. So this slots in underneath trucks like the Ranger, trucks like the Tacoma, trucks like the Ridgeline, trucks like the Colorado Canyon, right? This is a slot below that, okay, on the size scale and capability scale, quite frankly, right? And this car actually will have some competition when it is unveiled and produced for 2022. Hyundai is actually making something called the Santa Cruz that competes squarely in this segment. You're talking a unibody pickup. Okay, so this isn't going to be a body-on-frame type deal like your old Ranger was, right? This is going to be a unibody. So what that means is it's based off of an existing SUV. So the Hyundai product is going to be based off like the Kona Santa Fe sort of like architecture, but this Ford Maverick is going to be based on the Bronco Sport, which is based on the Escape. Okay, just to give you a rough idea of size, and it also gives us a rough idea of what we can expect motor-wise, right? In the Bronco Sport, you can get the 1.5 liter turbo 3-cylinder, shout out to the Fiesta ST, but you can also get the 2.0 liter 4-cylinder turbo. Both of those motors likely going to be available in this Ford Maverick. TFL Truck thinks this will tow between 3,500 to 5,000 pounds, and that its base price will be in the mid-20s, and that it'll have a 4 to 5 foot bed. So again, like, we just stopped, and this is the reason why I brought up TFL Truck, is because someone in San Diego actually spotted Ford filming a commercial for the Maverick. Here it is. Like, this is it. 100%. That's it. Right? And John asks a good question. He goes, do we need another pickup truck segment? And to that, I would say this is almost like the Dossia Spring EV of pickups, right? A lot of people that own a pickup truck don't use it for the towing, don't use it for anything that you need that big ass size for. What they want is the practicality of having a pickup bed. What they want is the appearance. And that's what the Ford Maverick provides, right? You have the practicality of a 4 to 5 foot bed to throw the things that you want in it, get a bed extender, get it to 6 feet, put your bikes in it, whatever. You make a Home Depot run, whatever, right? You have the appearance of a pickup truck, which a lot of people appreciate. And you have the efficiency of a Bronco Sport, which is pretty good. And you have the off-road capability of a Bronco Sport, which is also pretty good. So I understand, that this is another pickup in a litany of pickups. But this is actually one that I'm personally interested in. Because, yes, I want to have the ability to tow, but thinking about it realistically, right? if there's 365 days a year, the amount of times that I'm going to tow are maybe 7 to 14. So am I going to buy a vehicle dedicated only to those 7 to 14 days? Or am I going to buy something that works for the other, 340 days? And then if I need something where I have to tow something big, bang, I rent it. Bang, I borrow it. You know what I mean? That's the key here for me. Shout out to John for liking the stream. Thank you for that. John says, this is only a plus if we get a new Baja. Balls in Subaru's court here, right? Because if Ford can show that the Maverick can generate some really good sales, and if Hyundai can show, as a new entrant to the pickup space entirely, that something like the Santa Cruz can sell, Subaru's got the chassis, right? They got the Outback. Pickup. Wildlands pickup, lifted. Or Wilderness, whatever the fuck they call their special edition, right? So there is, everyone that wants the Subaru Baja should really be clamoring that this Ford Maverick does really well, should be really supportive to the Santa Cruz as well. Because if those cars do well, now we're talking about potentially more brands getting into the space, which could mean cars like the Subaru Baja, right? How do I think this looks? I like the rear three-quarter view. What's interesting to me is how chunky that rear bumper looks. Look at it right under the taillight to the wheel. Look at that. That view especially makes it known. I don't know if I like that, the chunky bumper. But overall, this is probably Area 51 paint, which is available in the Bronco Sport, the Bronco, and other cars. I think it looks sharp. I think it looks really great. I don't mind the front end either. Right there, you can see it really good. I feel like it's going to age pretty quickly. This doesn't look like a F-150 type timeless design, but that rear three-quarter view, pretty solid other than that bumper. It's pretty solid. What do you guys think? Give me some thoughts here. Give me some opinions. Now, before we get into the next topic, I just got to make a quick setting change. Here we go. All right, so next would be this, previous would be this, done, this guy, manual, amazing. Okay, all right, so every year around this time, Jeep has a Moab, Utah-based event. Now, for those of you that aren't privy to what that means, in Moab, there is tremendous off-roading. Okay, you're talking about rock crawling, you're talking about beautiful vistas, you're talking about just unparalleled scenery. And if you live in the States and you haven't been, definitely go check it out. The Moab Park is gorgeous, regardless of if you're going to go off-roading or not. It's just really, really awesome. Shout out to Brian Brooks with the 50 stars. Welcome, my friend, to the stream. Welcome. So Jeep every year has a Moab event around this time. And during this, they show off a bunch of really, really unique machines, a lot of which I wish would come to production, but don't necessarily. Shout out to Dylan for joining the stream. Thank you, my friend, for the like. So we're going to go through 4 of their really interesting concepts. And we're going to start out with this guy. This is the Jeep Commando Beach. Now, every year, Jeep tends to release a sort of like resto-modded Jeep, something that looks very much so like the old school, but based on the new school. And that's exactly what this is. So it's a turbo 2.0 liter 4-cylinder that actually makes 340 horsepower and 360 pound-feet of torque. The interior is all new Jeep Wrangler. The exterior is all classic Jeep, right? This looks like a very old Jeep. Lovely. Really cool. Not my favorite resto mod that they've done in the past. And maybe if we have time for it at the end of the stream, I'll show you what my favorite one is. But I think this is really, really nice. Very well executed. And the Jeep interior does an incredible job at looking modern, but in this colorway also being a massive throwback to the old school. John says this thing is so dope, and I'm not a Jeep fanboy at all. I agree. Bang on color choice as well to Jeep, so fair play there. Good stuff. The next vehicle is called the Gladiator Red Bear, and I'm going to start off with the main calling card, and that's all the plaid interior, okay? I know what you're feeling, Jeep people. I can feel it, right? This exudes your ethos as a man who wants to appear as he's a lumberjack and very rustic and very outdoorsy, as a woman who wants to show off that she can, do her damn thing, I get that. I get it. Okay. But this is the Gladiator Red Bear. It has a 91-to-1 crawl ratio, Dana 44 axles. It has 488 gearing, and it uses the diesel with 260 horsepower, 442 pound-feet of torque. John says it must have, or Brian says must have beard to drive. Yeah, you're totally right. So I fit the demo here. Can you guys see that? I fit the demo. I actually think it looks killer. I think the Gladiator plays a fine line. Very, very fine line, by the way. Like, this is incredibly hard and one that I don't envy anybody trying to modify a Gladiator, but it really plays that line of, like, can easily be a brodozer and poser and whatever to, like, can look substantial and nice. Like, there's some Gladiators that I see on the road, and I'm like, fuck, why don't I consider one of those? Like, it actually looks really nice. It might be the Overland trim with the body color fenders, whatever. But then I see one, again, down the road that's, like, lifted with, like, fake beadlock tires, and it's blacked out like crazy, and I'm like, okay, I'm out. But this Red Bear, you know, it's not bad. Pretty cool. I like this bed setup. I don't know about the roll bar per se, but I'm talking about like the tonneau cover, things like that. I don't know if they still call it a tonneau cover, but whatever. It's my show. You know what I mean? The next car is this one right here. Must have been a big plaid theme for Jeep this year. John says that one ain't it. Brian says stock Gladiators are an eyesore. I don't necessarily disagree with you there. So this one, and again, massive plaid theme for Jeep this year. Not really sure why, not really sure if I like it. But this one is called the Orange Peelz. Peelz. Okay. This one has Corning Gorilla Glass windscreen. It has Jeep's half door, which we've seen them testing, so you can see it right there. It's got lights everywhere. It's got a lift. It's got tires. But mainly, this was showing off Jeep's half door to the Wrangler. So you guys can see it right there again. It's just a smaller door size. That's all it is. Right? I don't know. I like the look of this one a little bit more than the Gladiator, not as much as the Commando Beach, but, you know, for a Wrangler, it is what it is. I'm happy it's a two-door. I think all Wranglers should be two doors, you know. Not that the four doors look bad, but me personally love the two doors. Just like with the Defender, I'll take a 90 before I take the 110. But anyway, I don't own either, so here we are. But the last car that we're going to talk about is this thing. Brian says another pavement princess. You're not entirely wrong, okay? But we're going to talk about the Wrangler Magneto. Tremendous name. Really great name. And I think you guys got it already by the first picture here. But this is an all-electric Wrangler. So usually what Jeep does during these, okay, is they'll show one resto mod. Like in the past, they've even shown a cab forward thing, which was fucking awesome. Awesome, right? And then they'll show 2, maybe even 3 current model Jeeps that are just fixed up like crazy. Like they also brought a Wrangler 392 Rubicon. They brought a couple Gladiators, right? Like we showed a couple today. But then they also do one that is reflective of something that's coming. So last year there was a V8 Wrangler and we got a V8 Wrangler. This year it's this guy, the Wrangler Magneto, and it previews an all-electric Jeep. And they actually did some really, really cool things here that might not make it to production, but I kind of hope they do. They might not make it to production, but I really hope they do. So what are those details, okay? This car has 4 battery packs with a capacity of 70 kilowatt hours. Now, in comparison to the Dossia Spring, that's a lot more. The Dossia Spring had 27.4 kilowatt hours. This has 70, so substantial, right? And it puts it right in line with a lot of the modern cars that are in between that 70 to 100 kilowatt hour range, right? It has 285 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque, and it actually has a 6-speed manual transmission. Now, Jeep says that this helps it manage trails like it's an ICE car, right? So they wanted to make this feel like it was an internal combustion engine machine on the trail, but give it the electric energy efficiency that we crave, right? Derek says, is the Wrangler the right vehicle from Jeep to showcase EV? Seems like the wrong application for the Jeep ethos. Now, normally I would agree, but I think in a presentation like this, where they're showing you like This is the Jeep Wrangler Magneto, and this is one ready for the off-road. I think they nailed it. I think if they just came out and showed you like a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon that was all electric, I'd be like, nope, that was wrong. You did the wrong thing here. But presenting it like this, where they're like, okay, guys, we thought about it, and this is how it would look on the trail with a 6-speed manual, with a winch, with no top, with the roll bars. I think they crushed it, right? Brian says, how do they vent the battery box? Will it need a snorkel? Good question. Maybe that's what they're using the hood scoop for. I don't know the answer to that, but I also doubt this is going to be like forging waters, right? It's for the Moab. It's for rock crawling. John says, they left the grill automatically approve. Yeah, I wonder how Jeep is going to... That's a good question. I wonder how Jeep is going to approach this sort of all-electric thing, because usually they have grills, right? The 7. That's the most important. It's like a Game of Thrones reference. The 7. Does this one even have 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7. Okay. Had to check. You know what I mean? We're doing it live. But yeah, Derek, I understand your point where like, is the Wrangler the right vehicle to showcase like the first all-electric Jeep? But I think it's the car they need. So they've shown the 4xe, which is a Jeep Wrangler plug-in, right? I think it can do something like 30 miles on electric, which is really impressive for a Wrangler. But now taking that to the next level with something like this, and they have more plug-in hybrids like the Gladiator, the new Jeep Grand Cherokee will also have it. But doing something like this gives the Wrangler off-roader, or the person that aspires for that image, sort of an understanding that like, oh, okay, I can be eco-conscious and get that same off-road look that I'm looking for. I can be save the planet guy and get that same mall parking lot appearance that I crave, right? So I think Jeep nailed it with this, like nailed it with this. Yeah, I'm a big fan. And if you guys want to check it out, Jeep is probably going to have some Moab press conference where they showcase all of these cars. But really, really cool machines nonetheless. So with that said, let me quickly show you guys the cab forward version that I was talking about, and then we'll shut out the stream for the day. So I would argue that this is probably Jeep's biggest mistake that they didn't produce. Brian asks, is this full electric or hybrid? Great question, Brian. It is full electric. So it uses 70 kilowatt hour battery with, I believe it's 4 motors and a 6-speed synthetic manual, obviously, because it doesn't need a clutch to create for an all electric Wrangler. So it is full electric. And it is actually, to my recollection, Jeep's first like production ready electric type machine that they've ever debuted. They had the 4xe, but that was a plug-in hybrid. They showcased some plug-in hybrid technology on the Grand Cherokee, on the new Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer, but they've never shown a full electric thing, so this was the first one. Okay, let me show you guys this thing. So remember how I said that during these like Moab press conferences, Jeep always makes one thing that's based on the old, but new? This was the Jeep Mighty FC concept. So between the years of 56 and 65, Jeep produced this thing called the Forward Control. And it looked remarkably similar. If you guys haven't seen that, Google Jeep Forward Control and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. But then for what year was it that Jeep made this? Hold on. Let me find that. 2012. Okay, Jeep made this in 2012, and it still looks insane. Insane, right? So in 2012, Jeep produced this, which is called the Mighty FC concept, right? You hear the forward control in the FC, all right? It's a cab-over design that had a full-length cargo bed and kept the overall length to a minimum. So this made it more maneuverable than otherwise possible. So what are the details on the Mighty FC? The Mighty FC is based on a 2012 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, and the cab has been moved up and ahead of the front axle. The wheelbase has been lengthened, and there's an 8-foot bed on the back that has a drop side cargo box, just like a key truck. Okay, just like a key truck. John says it's like a Unimog, but America. Brian says I need this in my life, and I totally agree. Totally agree. The Mighty FC was one of 6 concept vehicles that Jeep showed off at the Moab Easter Jeep Safari in 2012. Not much more details other than that. Jeep told us that it has portal axles, king coilover reservoir shocks, Hanson bumpers, a big-ass winch, a Corsa exhaust, and 40-inch tires. But this was the machine Jeep should have made. I mean, hell, it even has a frickin' Jeep Renegade, front grille and headlight design, but it looks perfect. Perfect. But they didn't. Here we are. This was the Jeep Commando Beach style, but in 2012. So this was Jeep's call to the old school, whereas in 2021 we get the Commando Beach, which is also kick-ass and cool, but it's nothing anywhere near the Jeep FC. Anywhere near the Jeep FC, right? So that is all we have for today, guys. This is the Money Shift in the Morning podcast. We had some good news today from the Lexus. Oh, let me remove this guy. From the Lexus IS Wax that utilized a vinyl player to appeal to a whole new subset of audience for Lexus, a one-off only machine, to the Dossia Spring EV, which shows that a brand can make an electric vehicle that has good enough range for under $30,000, and in fact, closer to 10 after government incentives. And then we went on to talk about the Ford Maverick, which is a small unibody pickup that will likely have a 3-cylinder turbo from the Fiesta ST and a 2.0-liter turbo 4-cylinder. Both of those options are available in the Bronco Sport, for which this is based. And then we finished off with going over the 5, I believe it was, might have been 4, Jeep concepts that they were showing off at the Moab Safari. So if you guys enjoyed the Money Shift stream, be sure to hit that like, be sure to hit that follow, shooting for 1,000 follows by the end of the month. We have 8 days to do so, and we need 100 plus follows to get there. So if you guys know anyone that is interested in the automotive news landscape, recommend it. Show it to them. Right? Let's get there. Let's get to 1,000 follows by the end of the month. I appreciate all of you guys, and I will see you again tomorrow morning. Goodbye. Happy Monday.